This is I Love Black People Radio on HUR Voices, Sirius XM, Channel 141. I Love Black People is more than a radio show. I Love Black People is a call from our ancestors to protect us from racial profiling all across the world. Go to iloveblackpeople.com and become a member today. Membership empowers you to live fearlessly and protect Black people globally from racism and xenophobia. Join us today and become a member of our global network with an online global green book with Black-owned and Black-friendly businesses to protect you and your community. Membership is free, and with you, we will become 10 million strong worldwide. I am because we are.
All right, welcome to another edition of I Love Black People, and today we're blessed to have an amazing brother, my brother, a good brother that's been a champion of our people, and we're just so happy and proud to have him here. Good brother Sam P.K. Collins. Thank you and welcome to I Love Black People, brother.
I appreciate you bringing me on. Thank you so much.
Humbly. Well, tell the audience about yourself and, give them some of the background, and so they kind of get a feel and the flavor of some of the amazing things that has led us to this moment and all the things you're doing today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Name's Sam P.K. Collins. I also go by Ras Plakuya Glebwo. I'm a grassroots journalist, educator, and as of December 27th, 2021, I became an author. My book is titled Babylon Be Still, and it chronicles my adoption of an African-centered worldview, and it shows how I adopted that worldview in navigating the journalism industry over the course of about 10 or 11 years. I'm a native Washingtonian, and my parents immigrated from Liberia, West Africa. So those experiences you see woven throughout the book, in addition to what I experienced in the world of journalism that opened my mind to the teachings of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, and which pretty much informed my adoption of the Rastafari liberty, both of which undergird a lot of what I do as a professional.
All right. Well, so what led you to the journalism space? I think that'd probably be something a lot of folks want to know, like what gets people on their path.
No doubt. I mean, I've been writing for as long as I can remember. I was reading here and there. I was always an enthusiastic public speaker, even with a stutter that I had developed throughout elementary, middle, and some of high school. By fifth grade, we had a class newspaper that we did. So I was writing reviews here and there. I remember writing something about Miss Evers' boys. I think it was a film about the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. So that they had Lawrence Fishburne in it. That was my first time hearing about the whole Tuskegee experiment, and I decided to write about that for the class publication. By the eighth grade, my father, having seen me do public speaking in front of our home church at the time and writing profusely, he encouraged me to join the school newspaper at Paul Public Charter. This was back in 2001. So 7th and 8th grade, I'm with the Paul Post. I'm also working on the publication for the school student government newspaper. And that continued throughout high school. In the absence of a newspaper at Banneker, I wrote for Young in DC. That was a publication that was around during that time for high school students in the DMV area. By college, I founded a magazine. It was called the Ace Magazine, and it was the offshoot of a newsletter that came out of the Black Student Union at the George Washington University. So, and then that just took me, throughout journalism from the Ace, or even while doing the Ace, I had interned at Congressional Quarterly. I was making documentaries here and there. And then after undergrad, I went into different internships with NBC, NPR. And then that's around the time that I started working with The Informer, after having been immersing myself in different spaces where I felt more like a racial minority and not like somebody who can get the fullest, most well-rounded journalism experience. So that's pretty much a bit of my journey. Anytime I navigate the industry, people talk about, well, I just fell into journalism, but whereas I don't think I've ever imagined myself not being a journalist, you know?
So when you said Paul, did you know Kenneth Ward?
Yeah, he was my 8th grade teacher.
Incredible.
Yes, sir.
Dang, son, that is great.
Yeah.
Like, so that's when I had my dry cleaners on Georgia Avenue. He used to come into the cleaners. I want to say there was a Natasha Warsaw that worked there, but I know Kenneth Ward did. Good. Do you still stay up with him? I know he's got a college. He does
Once in the blue. I did some
yeah.
work with College Bound.
College Bound, yeah.
I was a site coordinator between 2017 and 2018, and I conducted a couple of writing workshops with the young people there between 2018 and I think 2019.
Wow, time is, because I know he even took some students to West Africa.
Yeah,
I
was supposed to go, but
oh,
mind you, what happened was, and you know, my father and I, we talk about this because so Liberia having experienced not one but 2 civil wars, you know, it had really struck fear and concern, you know, in people's hearts, you know, particularly my father, him having left Liberia 2 years after the coup that got William Tubman out of power and brought Samuel K. Doe in. So he having intimate knowledge of
hold on,
war.
was it Tubman? No, it was his what was his vice president's name? Tubman's vice president? Jesus.
I can't tell you, but I know it was
he got killed in his house. Golly,
yeah,
bro. This Liberia's bro, I just got really hip to like the trajectory that Liberia was. They had even supported Libya. Like it was some interesting things where he was trying to step away. The vice president, he spoke the indigenous languages, like was a more progressive than, you know, Tubman problematic. You know, I'm not, you know, don't let me speak. You know better than who these people are, but they killed that brother in his house, and I was just trying to like think if he didn't have nobody to protect him. They said they sent Europeans. They said they didn't even trust local folks. They had Europeans physically. Normally they orchestrated from the far, but they literally went in and got that brother, man. So sad. Anyway, humbly, bro. I'm not like
nah, you good, man. You know,
that thing.
I'll tell you right now, like Liberia is a colonial construct, as is many other African countries. You know, I think one African nation that comes closest to being independent or is independent is Ethiopia, just by virtue of having never been colonized. Although, you know, with the whole Italo invasion, you know, that calls into question.
Yeah. I give them a hard time. They say, look, Ethiopia's never been colonized. I said, well, Abyssinia was a lot bigger than Ethiopia,
That's
but
true.
not going to look. Like I said, but I'm not here to argue. Like, you know more about your country than me. But Abyssinia went all the way to Yemen. Oman. It went all the way down to Tanzania. I was like, look, if that ain't getting colonized, I'm willing to say cool, but you know, Ethiopia is sure a lot smaller than Abyssinia.
Yeah.
So I think we've been all impacted by this white supremacist thing, and we're doing the best we can with what we've been, you know, anyway, that we fought for. So, but I get the, like, you know, I went to Tuskegee, so even some of the things that were done early on in Liberia, and just looking at, you know, but it was literally right after Tubman died. It looked like it was about to be on a great path, and then they killed that vice president. I just can't. Anyway, yeah, with the coup, I even got to the book. His wife wrote a book. Wow, I need to get you to the book. I bought the book. I'm gonna share the book with you. I'm sorry.
And my fault, man, because I often get Tubman and Tolbert confused, because Tubman was the one who had worked with Kwame Nkrumah and the other African leaders, you know, with the whole Monrovia versus Casablanca block. But it was Tolbert. Yeah,
Tolbert was good. And Tubman was, you know, he was clicked in, from my understanding, more with the, now I won't say sellouts, but the folks who were accommodationists. He wasn't a Nkrumah guy. I think he was
Not at
allowing,
all. Not at
yeah,
all. No.
yeah, he was allowing like American, planes to land. And when Tolbert started like opening up and having relationships with everybody, which seems like a reasonable thing, the United States was like, nah, we're gonna pull the plug on that one, homie. And literally, his wife was there, and I haven't read the full book, but I just read the excerpts, and it really is painful because she literally was there. They heard somebody breaking in the house. She ended up coming. I mean, this is what always gets me. Like, even when the U.S. with all the hegemony and the murder, she ended up coming to the United States.
Of course.
And some people would even say she probably was safer, here than maybe back where she was, because there's certain things now the United States does the same exact things. It used to do modifications, I think, of what it did in other countries, but it's doing exactly the same thing. But look, with that being said, I mean, I love this. I knew it was going to be so much to talk to you, Brother Sam, about all these things. I know your mind is like,
yeah, it doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop. So how much? And then, where did you go to college? I don't know why I thought you went to Howard, but I'm sorry.
I mean, I often get that, but I went to GW. I got a full ride there.
Go ahead. So how was it there, man? I mean, again, how was GW?
Yeah,
being a native Washingtonian, coming from your perspective, how was that construct? Woo.
It was eye opening. You get to learn about class stratification. Because mind you got Washington, D.C., people who visit D.C., people who go to GW, they're often boarding school kids, or they're kids who have matriculated through private schools. It's a very selective university. And the scholarship that I got into GW with, the Trachtenberg Scholarship, was designed to bridge that gap. Because, given where GW is, oftentimes a lot of us aren't really touching that campus unless we're conducting business down there or we're on a field trip. The only school that's down there, high school rather, is School Without Walls. And you got Duke Ellington, which is, not too far away, but still in Georgetown kind of. But, the point is that had I not gone to that school, I would have not had much contact with downtown DC. So people who go to GW, they know nothing about Chocolate City or what was Chocolate City. They don't know about, the culture. They don't know about the people too much. They call us locals. It's a lot of divisiveness. And even among the Black community, I felt a bit of class stratification, just given the fact that Native Washingtonians were often associated with, derogatory themes. And, it was eye-opening, just navigating that. And I would say during those years, just being between 18 and 22 or so, not really knowing myself, it was a balancing act, and just trying to find myself and feel comfortable in my skin. Because
was there a Black student union?
Oh, of course. Yeah, man, I was heavily involved in that. We had a Black student union. We had the Black Men's Initiative. Like, don't get it twisted, And I think at any PWI, because you realize that you're one of a few, the community is even more tight knit. So even with all of the, misgivings about DC and DC culture, I still was immersed in the community that had love for me. And we had upperclassmen who took it upon themselves to take the younger brothers and sisters up under their wing and get them involved in community events, student organizations. And GW was known as a place where you had to have a go-getter attitude. I would say people who visited or who matriculated from outside of DC, they had a better understanding than I did about what was available to them here. Because as soon as they touched down, they were doing this internship, that internship. They were starting this business and that business. They were taking these classes and, having office hours with professors. Like, I was going to school with people whose fathers and grandfathers, mothers, aunties, uncles were mavens in industry, mayors, politicians, some people would go to class and intern at CNN within the same day. It was that real because it was about having that go-getter attitude and just being industrious and being innovative at the very same time. So, it taught me a lot in terms of that. And, I would even say, it's part of the reason why in doing what I do, I uphold myself to a certain standard, because just having seen what the world has to offer, I'm not really afraid of what anybody has to say. I feel like I conduct myself properly and I'm able to go into certain places and command a respect because I have respect for myself because I had to have developed that being that GW. Now, mind you, the cultural part came a little later because, at a PWI, not to say that HBCUs have a premium on culture, but I can definitely understand why, people would want to, why people tout HBCUs as being such. And I would also say that, in my later years, having immersed myself in culture and learning more about myself, that HBCUs were quite pivotal in helping me make that connection. Just off the fact that you were more exposed to Afrocentric thinking, you went to events with Afrocentric speakers. So it was a lot raw, it was very raw, very real. But GW prepared me, for the rat race. As much as I hate the rat race sometimes, it definitely prepared me for it.
Do you keep up with the folks at GW? Like I just came from two homecomings, man, Skinny and Howard, and we even came to the point to realize it wasn't even the school was an idea, if anything. It wasn't the actual reality of it. It was the idea that led to a pursuit. Like we started pursuing this idea that created relationships, and those relationships created a mindset that it wasn't a book, it wasn't a class, it literally was us. Like when we started, like we were having a problem with where we're going to have some tailgate. It was something really silly, but what we realized was no matter where we have it, as long as we're there, that's all it was anyway. Mm-hmm. Like literally it was us. Like literally the things that made, like I don't even remember. I remember the people more than the darn classes. Mm-hmm. And literally the folks who've helped me throughout life, be it personal things or professionally, have been the folks either through the folks I went to school with or the actual folks themselves. Like it literally, I can't tell you in the equation, I was a mechanical engineer. And of course I was in the patent office, but literally it was the relationship. So when you're starting to talk about some of the things that you saw or experienced at GW, it just made me think about, what has, happened with some of those relationships that you were able to develop in that pressure cooker.
Oh man, some of them I flourished, and I still stay in contact with some of those people to this day. We just buried a good friend this past summer, and I was nervous about that type of reunion because you never know who you're going to encounter. In the years since I graduated, I've taken on more nationalist thinking, that rubs people a certain way, and I've clashed with former classmates, so even that, I've taken a vow of separation. So going into that memorial service, I felt sort of nervousness, about who I would encounter, but at the end of the day, it was all love because, like you said, it was there from the beginning. College is a beautiful time in the sense that if you play your cards right, you get to meet people who see you at your realest and who you go through life with, and if the mutual respect is there, they will always respect your change.
Go ahead.
And like they'll know because like they understand what it is. I would say the time between the mid-20s to your early 30s is your loneliest time because you went from having this tight-knit group of friends who you were around all the time to just being alone. Everybody moved to different cities or whatever. They're in their careers. We're changing because we're leaving adult adolescence. and we're learning the lessons of adulthood, I would say that was the time when I started shaving my friends off. You know, I learned who were real friends and I learned who were associates. I learned that some of these people I might never talk to again in life, and that was fine because the politics just changed. And it goes to show you how much politics, you know, has an effect on who you maintain contact with, because, you know, outside of the fog of the parties and, you know, whatever else is the case, you learn more about people. And those who were real from the beginning, you know, I'm still friends with them now. Like, you know, because there's that mutual respect when it comes to hard questions or debates or even current events. You know, people, they call me, you know, to ask me to weigh in, you know, on one-on-one. And it's the same thing with me. Like, we're always reasoning about something, you know, and it comes from that mutual respect, just having seen each other come up from the age of 17, 18 up into our early 30s, you know?
Yeah, bro. There's something. There's a sincerity, or I'm not gonna say pure, but what you just kind of laid out, bro. That's a real piece of that experience. That those real folks that knew you when you was a freshman, man. No, as you were saying that, like we all go through our evolution. The first time I heard Mr. Farrakhan was literally as a freshman. My roommate played a cassette tape. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, whoa, this guy! Like, my eyes popped wide open. I was like, what? And all the other stuff, you know, Francis Crest, well, like literally was in college. So cats, you know, like you just said, as you keep growing, and there's some folks that, you know, I did the fraternity thing, and some of those cats, you know, aren't really down. So you literally go through this weird, like you said, and in your later 20s. Now, it did take me 9 years to get a 4-year degree. You matriculated much better than me. So mine was an extended period. Well, look, I love the college stuff, you know, because the show's on Howard University, Sirius XM. So I know we got some collegiate folks listening and some folks who probably just graduate. And that was just beautiful what you laid out. So tell us about Babylon Be Still, my brother, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, I started writing that. So it was a compilation of essays, the first of which I wrote in 2011, not too long after I graduated from undergrad. And the latest of which was like 2020, at the very beginning of the pandemic, having been quarantined in the house and going through things, you know, mentally and spiritually. This compilation, I ordered it so that people saw my progression. And in the beginning of the book, I identified as a moderate Democrat. By the end of the book, I'm a Rastafari, Pan-African nationalist, and a Pan-African federalist. Pan-African federalism being the continuation of Kwame Nkrumah's vision of a united Africa, but this time we're extending it to the diaspora. So over time, I've developed a more internationalist, nationalist mind frame in which, in taking my journalism, I consider myself as a vanguard of the fourth branch of our Pan-African government, that being the propaganda house. And not to say that, you know, I have blind loyalty to my people, but the fact of the matter is that the war that we find ourselves in is a propaganda war.
Because even when you're talking about an agenda, I think it should be many agendas, but fine, let's call it an agenda just for the sake of the conversation.
Right.
Just the distribution of the message. It'd be great if we had some reliable newspapers,
Yeah,
you know, to help in getting that word out.
Well, I work for one. I work with one, rather. You know, it's reliable in the sense that it's community oriented. It's of the community. You can definitely depend on, you know, it representing the interest of the people. You know, people never feel uncomfortable coming up to us to suggest stories. It's things like that that sustained us during the civil rights movement. You know, when you had the local papers documenting what was happening, and then the so-called mainstream papers sifting from that.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I get you. So, like the Pittsburgh Couriers, I used to
Oh
read some
yeah,
of
no
the
doubt.
Chicago Defender. Them cats, they used to have some powerful papers. I didn't know Pittsburgh was that big. You know, when I think of black folks, I don't really think about Pittsburgh, but they was hitting it. Well, cool. Well, good brother Sam, we got to come back around with you. Why don't you go ahead and give us some more about the Babylon Be Still? Where can they get the book? Where can they reach out and touch you? Where can they follow up? Where are you going to be next? Like, give our folks something they can go ahead and do some follow ups.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sam P.K. Collins, uh, journalist, educator, and author. Babylon Be Still. You can purchase it at Sankofa Video Books and Cafe. It's on Georgia Avenue in DC, right across the street from Howard University. You can also go online at alleyesondc.com to purchase that book. If you want to get in contact with me, I can be found on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Sam PK Collins. Just how you spell it, that's how you will find me on any of those platforms.
Okay. Awesome. Well, brother Sam, definitely appreciate all the words of wisdom and insight, and definitely your work in spreading the good news in the newspapers about us. And definitely appreciate it. We don't say thank you. And that's a wrap. And whenever I end it, I always end it with I am because we are. And I definitely wouldn't be me without you. So thank you, brother Sam.
Thank you.
This is I Love Black People Radio on HUR Voices, Sirius XM Channel 141. I Love Black People is more than a radio show. I Love Black People is a call from our ancestors to protect us from racial profiling all across the world. Go to iloveblackpeople.com and become a member today. Membership empowers you to live fearlessly and protect Black people globally from racism and xenophobia. Join us today and become a member of our global network with an online global green book with Black-owned and Black-friendly businesses to protect you and your community. Membership is free